Running. Okay, so good afternoon and welcome to Games and Skills for 3rd to 6th class. It's the second of our primary school webinars. 2 weeks ago we had one on the fundamentals, so from juniors up until 2nd class. We're coming to you live from the home of the 2020 Ulster champions, so I just really had to get that in, just delighted to say it. So hopefully you've got a smile on your face the last couple of days like we have over here. We're going to not keep you too long. We're going to try and, without rushing into things, but we're going to try and give you as broad a strokes as we can. Okay, so we're kind of working off the assumption that from 3rd to 6th class, a lot of the fundamental stuff is covered. So it's maybe a bit more of honing the skills through games, drills, activities, and we're just going to give you a couple of different resources to kind of have a wee look at that. All right. So we're going to look at drills, activities, games. We're going to show you the activity planner, which is on the GEA's Learning and Development website. It's a fantastic website, and that is a particularly fantastic resource. So we really want to make you aware of it. And then we've got some other resources made available for primary school teachers, both nationally, and then a couple of stuff that we've set up to share with you as we go through here. I suppose you should ask to start. Everyone can hear me okay, and no problems. We have a chat box there as well. So we've Dan Wharton with me as well, and he's monitoring that. So if you have a question, don't be afraid of just typing it, and we'll get to it as soon as we can, or at a natural break. All right. So there's our 4 topics in broad strokes, what we're going to be covering. Now, so drills and activities. So you've got your class out in the yard, and you've taken them out to do a wee bit of Gaelic games. What do you want to do? Is it just a football session, or does your session have a team? So if it's just a football session, you've got a half an hour, you're taking them out for a bit of football. Pick a few games, drills, activities out of the following resource that we're going to show you, and just go for it. Like everything else, if it has a team, like as in pick a skill and then build your games, activities, drills around that skill. So, right, today's team, it doesn't even have to be announced, but sorry, I don't know what happened there. This happens regularly. Hold on a second. Bear with me a wee second. Presentation just loading back up. Now we're back up. Now, no more than the last one, it wouldn't be a Teams or a webinar or a Zoom without a wee bit of a hiccup in it. So, as I was saying, does your session have a team? Pick a team. Again, it doesn't have to be announced. You're going to pick the hand pass skill to work on today, or you're going to work on catching. So then you with that in mind, you pick out games, drills, and activities based around that skill, and then you go out and you do it. Okay, so straightforward enough. Now, so pick, your session team, pick a skill, look at, there's broad strokes what we have here: hand pass, fist pass, kicking, pick up, catching, shooting, solo, bounce, tackling. And you don't need to be, have played the game, be a club trainer, any great experience with Gaelic games to go and do a bit of coaching around any of those skills. Okay, there's loads of resources here that we're going to go through that can make it easy. And just to point out as well, if you're going and you're doing the first bit of that in the previous slide, you're just doing a half hour of football, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's great, from our point of view, from GA people, we'd rather see that than not, so don't think that that's looked down upon, that if that's all you're doing. But so we're happy enough with that. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to show you first of our resources. And you should be seeing my screen now. Yep, okay. So we've got this OneDrive folder document ready for you. We're going to share the link with you at the end. There's loads of different documents here, loads of different skills, a lot of resources in it. Okay, so there's some here from 2 weeks ago with stations and skill cards and warm-up games for the younger ones. There's the presentation from 2 weeks ago, fundamentals for junior cycle in the primary school. I'm going to look at these two here, do under 10, under 14 games and drills, and then the coaching skills, coaching points, drills and games. So I have them already open here, so I'm just going to go to my next tab. Now, this is a fairly big document. There's 40 odd pages in it. It kind of goes into it a wee bit of detail, but it works around each of the skills. There's a wee bit of a skills test. There's a bit of coaching points. There's a couple of more dated photographs. Okay, that's from, I think, under 21s a couple of years ago. Poor old Donegal. Hope they're all alive and well in the hills this week. And then we've got some basic drills, some intermediate drills. Okay, hand passing games. All right, so that's one document. I'm going to X out of that and go into the other one. It's pretty much the same, but just maybe in a wee bit smaller format. Okay, so hand pass again. Basic drill, you've got your coaching points, you've got some very basic drills, you've got intermediate ones, okay, advanced ones then in some of the other brackets, and then you've got some games based around it. Okay, so for example, in this game here for hand pass, tower ball, there's a wee mini picture of what you're looking to set up, description, and any comments, how to make it easier, how to make it harder. Then you've got a very simple one underneath it. For very little setup, a wee square. So if you're doing that in the hall and you've got lines on the hall already, you're set up ready to go. 4v2, put whatever rules you want on it, that they can't tackle front on, or it's only 50% from the defender to avoid it. Listen, I keep saying in these things, and I am appreciating that you are teachers, you know your own class. So I don't want to kind of overemphasize any points. You'll have a fair idea of what works and wouldn't work with your class, this year or any other year. All right. Again, beat the circle, using that this last couple of weeks. Myself in a couple of different schools, handy wee drill, can change it up and make the one team's passing around the A team, the B team's basically doing a relay race. You can bring a football in for that B team so that they're soloing around. Same thing again for catching, and just go down through these. So you've got, just show you, for example, what we've got. There's catching, there's no man's land, prisoner ball, scout ball, uneven team. So some repetition. Obviously, the games aren't just completely focusing on one point. So, whether there's a good hand pass or kick pass, generally there's a catch. So one will work for the other. So there's for some pickups and so on. So there's ones for kicking. Okay, so you can see there's Piggy in the middle set up, obviously space wise for kicking. Okay, and then you've got a similar one. We're going to show you this as well. Kick the curbs. All right, and again, like everything else, look at these, see what you can use, see what you can twist, change, tweak. That'll work. No, that wouldn't work in my hall. That wouldn't work in our yard. Whatever you need to do to make it work, go ahead and do that. Obviously. Okay, so I'm gonna X out of that. I'll come back to this in a second. I want to go back into my into our presentation. Beg your pardon. Okay, now just get back to where I need to be. Now, okay, so more so for the games, and I'll show you where these appear in the folder that I've just shown you, the OneDrive folder. So there's 6 different general areas or field of games it's under. So you've got target games, court games, field, non-invasion, part invasion, and full invasion. Okay, so you'll have seen variations of these. Okay, I think we're just a wee second or two behind. All right, but I'll show you, for example. Are we there yet? I think it's still loading. Bear with us. Okay, I'll just continue to talk on through. So for target games, we've got, for example, at this age group, cone bombardment, court games over the river. Field games, you can probably use, from these example, rounders games, and they don't have to be the big half your class versus the other half. I was in a school last week, and we were doing 2v1 rounders, so 2 fielders versus 1 kicker, and they had to kick from a certain point, run a wee kind of like a cricket run, see if they could build up their score, and then the 2 fielders had to work back together and get the ball back into where the kicker kicked it from, and then they changed the round. Okay, so that was 2v1, and I had let me see, I think there was maybe 8, 9 games of that happening all at the same time in the same school. Okay, I know it's not on the screen at the minute. I'll just go back in and share my screen again. We've got circle score, we've got go games. Okay, and I'm going to show you Road to Croker. All right, I'm just going to show you these, where they're located in the school. Sorry, in the folder. Are you back seeing my screen now? Okay, all right. Now, so again, we're back in our resource folder that we're going to send to you at the end of this. So the FOG, okay, the field of games, if you click into that, there are already loads of wee games here. Now, some of these are, within these are more applicable to the younger age groups. So, third class, depending on the mix, again, you'll know what works, what doesn't. So, for example, the court game, okay, no, beg your pardon, I'm going to show you the target game. The cone bombardment, I have it already open. Okay, so a bit like that kick the curve game we saw in the previous document. You can set it up whatever way you want. You've got cones in the middle. You can have Team A here at the top having a set of cones in front of them, Team B, and they just have to try and knock the other team's cone over. So it's a kicking, it's on low kicks. The coaching points would be to point your toe down, etc., etc. That works well indoor in halls if you've got the softballs. Hey, that would work with junior infants. That would work with 6th class. I've actually seen it done as well with one of the oversized Swiss balls that you see in the gym for people kind of doing sit-ups on. You put one of those in the middle of the area here, and the kids have to kick a ball and a football against that Swiss ball and try and knock it over the other team's line. Okay, and if you do that, you win and the other team loses. So that's a great one as well. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. So for court games, over the river, look, I love this game. I use it a lot, plenty of different variations to it. Dan's going to put a link up to a video in the chat about that. We did that as one of our workshops earlier on this year. So there's a 2 or 3 minute video on that. But very simple. Team over one side of the river, team over the other. Kick the ball over. You can award points for hitting the ground. You can award points for catching. You can allow them to be out if their kick is caught. You can allow, then I would do an awful lot of send one of Team A on the left. I think we call these mead colours. Send them over here to the far side so that they have they've got an invader or a teammate on the opposite side. If they get the ball kicked to them, they get double points or treble points or whatever. And then you can bring elements of good defending in, man marking, even if you might allow at some stage the invader to block the kick over. Again, you know better than I do what works. But these are little skill cards here. It just picture of what the setup looks like. A little bit of rules, scoring system, focus if need be, and then on the next bit of it, how to make it harder or easier, and then the coaching points based around head, hands, and feet, and any equipment that you may or may not need. Okay. Circle score, again, Dan's going to put a link into a video of us. It was Jack, his brother, doing this at one of the workshops earlier on this year. Probably one for the older age groups. So you've a set of goals. Now, don't worry, they don't have to be your portable goals. They can be just a couple of cones, but you've got half on one side. So in this case, it's 2v2 on one side of the goals and another half the other side. So basically, when the game is over, we call in zone A. When the game is on, they're playing amongst themselves and they're trying to get a score over the goals. As the ball is kicked over from A, it goes into zone B, and then the same ball is on in zone B. Okay, so they're looking to score and eventually kick the ball back over, and it's back with zone A. Zone B is getting a rest, and so on. Again, you've got your similar setup. You've got your picture, rules, scoring, focus, how to make it easier, how to make it harder, coaching points, equipment, etc. All right. So one of the part invasion recommendations there, when we go back into a presentation, you can see is the Go games. Very, very simple. If you look at this wee picture here, you've zone 1, 2, and 3. If I was in zone 1, let's say I was the defender in zone 1, I'm only allowed to stay in zone 1. My forward, the person I'm marking, Dan, he's only allowed to stay in zone 1. The same down the far side. My forward down in zone 3 is only allowed to stay there, and the back is only allowed to stay there as well. You can have it then that the midfielder in zone 1 and 2, the midfielder in each team can move between each zone. So what that basically does is it avoids people or kids, beg your pardon, running all around the ball. It forces them. It sets them up that they have to spread out, that if I'm in zone 1, I can't run down to zone 3 after the ball and Dan can't follow me, and vice versa. And also call half time, switch it around. I stay in my zone and now I'm a forward and Dan's a back. Okay. And you can be swapping your zone, your midfielder to run between each zone. That works very well. Sometimes you mightn't have to do that. Sometimes with your class, they need that little bit extra structure and rules and guidance to stay apart and stay that they're not all cluttering in around the ball. Okay. Hope I'm not going too quick on this. The last one then, we don't have a slide for that, is Road to Croker, but it's essentially your 3 or 4 or 2 pitches set up side by side, smaller teams. Okay, and basically, if you win your game, you move up towards Croke Park. So you have 3 pitches. You could have one of them. We'll call it O'Reilly Park. At the bottom, in the middle, could be Breffney Park, and then the final pitch obviously is Croke Park. So if you win, you're moving towards Croker, and if you lose, you're moving away from it. All right. And again, we've got a link for that. Dan's just going to put that up from previously. All right. So just when I have you here, I'll not go back into the presentation just as quickly as normal. The next section that we're going to look at is just for coaching the skill. So we're going to look at skill cards. Handy wee piece of kit for, like I said earlier, don't be too afraid. Not having played football isn't a barrier. Or being too familiar. These skill cards are very, very, very good. Okay. So, for example, you go into the skill cards. I'm just going to take out the fist pass. It's going to load for me. Perfect. Okay, so on the front of it, you've got what the fist pass is. You've got your key teaching points or coaching points, common errors. You've got your idea over here where you introduce the skill, you demonstrate it, you execute the activity, all right, and then you attend. You spot and fix. You make sure that everything's happening that you need to. When you go on to the back side of the picture, you've got a couple of drills and games related to that activity. And again, this wee thing over here in the bottom right-hand corner, the step. Okay, so space, I would say time and task, equipment and players. Those things that you can change without changing into a completely different drill. But if you change them, they become a way to make it harder or easier. So if you obviously make the pitch smaller or bigger, that changes the dynamic. It can make it harder or easier, etc. The task, if you ask them to do it with the opposite hand instead of their good hand or the right hand, that makes it more hard, okay, or harder even, and players, etc. Okay, so that's the skill cards within our resources there. And again, you can see that there's loads of skill cards. Look at there, these will all be available to download, print them off. The school probably not should have them as a resource. It's not a bad thing to have. Once you get them print off, you have them laminated or you have them stuck in a folder, that PE resource that the whole school can look for. Okay. So I'll just go back into my presentation if you bear with me. Hopefully we get it up this time. And again, don't be to fly through it too quickly, but I'm conscious of the fact that I'm sure most of you are still in school, so I don't want to be just keeping you all evening. Okay, so they're your skill cards, so you can use them to brush up on the coaching the skills. Obviously, you know, you wouldn't be as heavy on the coaching the skills in the older age groups necessarily as you would, let's say, in the middle ones, you know, your thirds and your fourths. There's your skill cards. So same setup as the fist pass one. You saw the teaching points at the front, and on the back, some skills and games related to that. Again, I'm dealing with teachers, so I don't want to overemphasize this too much, but when we were doing our foundation level and we're showing this to club coaches, idea, method, introduce it, demonstrate, explain. The spotting and fixing is a big one. You know yourself, you don't want a kid doing the wrong way. You know, if they don't get corrected, they'll think that's the right way. Probably a handier one then as well for, you know, space, time and task, equipment and players. Change them up, make it harder or easier without actually having to move to a completely different exercise. All right. Now, getting into more of the meat of the stuff that we have here, the activity planner. So this all works through the website, the learning.gaa.ie. So it's the learning and games development website that the GA have produced. And in fairness, it's a fantastic website. There's so much stuff on it, and we're just going to take a wee bit of time now to show you what's there. Big part of this is the activity planner. Okay, so we're going to show you that. And we're going to go back into sharing our screen, and we're going to show you that now. Okay, right. So this is learning.ga.ie. If you've done one of the teacher summer courses that we run here every summer, bar the one just gone by, you'll have used this for registration. Okay, so loads of different courses, loads of different things. Some of it may concern you, some of it may interest you, some of it won't. Go to your planner. That's what we're looking for here. All right. So straight away, you can see it's an interactive website. So I'm going to click on football, and I'm going to start making a couple of selections here of what I want this planner to spit out to me. So I'm going to go in from 10 to 13 years of age. Age range, skill, I'm going to just go, I want to see some catching skills and some catching exercises. So I'm going to put all 4 of those on. And as you could see, every time I did that, it was starting to making selections and changes there. All right. And I'm going to look for a conditioned game and a fun routine, because I don't want it to give me too. Okay. So for example, here we go. Here's Over the River. So it comes up here. You can see a diagram. You can see a video based around that. I'm not going to click on the video. Video doesn't play too well over Teams. But again, organization, the step variation, that's your space, time, task, equipment, and players that we spoke about there earlier. It's telling you it's socially distance friendly, very topical, etc. Now, you can print this off straight away, or the other option is if you register and log into this website, it will give you a third option to add that to a session. As in, you can click add that to a session. That would be great. Add Piggy in the middle to a session. The diagram isn't coming up there. Okay, add that to a session. Add 2 other things to a session. You can go to that session, and then it will automatically compile them in the one PDF, and it'll print those 4 exercises off for you as a session, and you can save it. And again, print them off. Nice wee resource to have. Perhaps, I don't know, maybe for any school visits or you know, inspectors or stuff like that. That's part of your PE lesson. Very, very handy way of documenting it as well. Okay, we could go through that from now until we'd all get fed up on it. But basically, suffice it to say that there is absolutely worlds of stuff on that. If you clear that and you've seen it all before on this, you'll have a good days, nights, weekends work done. Okay, so that's available for you there. So it's learning.ga.ie/planner. It's just a planner once you go to the home website. All right. So I'm going to keep going on my screen. I'm going to show you, we're moving on to the final bit of the webinar this evening, the resources for the primary school teachers. Okay, so again, this is on the same website. So I'll just go back in, learning.ga.ie. So you believe me, and then go to schools and go to primary schools. Okay, so there's loads of stuff here in fairness. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to come back around to me. Are we good to go yet, Dan? Let me just make sure. I'll share it again. I think we're just having an issue. No. Okay, just checking. Can everyone see my screen? Just looking for a wee bit of feedback there. Can everyone see my screen? Anyone? Yeah, I'm going to take that as, yep, great. Okay, sorry, there's an issue with just one of these.
Have it there now, Ed.
Okay, great, thank you. So, no point in me talking if no one's really going to follow me.
We're following.
Yeah, story of my life anyway. Okay, all right. So, we're on the primary schools resource on the learning.ga website. So, for example, you've got eight different lesson plans there on primary challenges. So, they come out the tail end of the last lockdown. So let's say issue 8 for the 3rd to 6th class. We'll just take a wee look at what it was. So it's a weekly curriculum lesson plan and physical activities for primary school children. I'm not going to go through it in depth for you. Okay. But there's a competition challenge of the week. Obviously it's not relevant now. There's not the prizes, etc. But it mightn't be, you could use it. Maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. There's a wee bit on, I'm not going to name the Waterford hurler. That's your homework. You can figure it out who it is. So there you go. There's a wee worksheet for them. Healthy eating, food pyramid. So look, as you can see there, they're using the GAA to come at other subjects. They're not driving the GAA down your throat. You'll go through them. You'll know what works, what won't work. There's some links there, as you can see there, that clicks to a video. I'm not going to go through that again. Okay, so for example, there's 8 lessons on that. There's a couple of Gaelic as well. There's 8 lessons for the junior end as well, junior to 2nd class, and there's worksheets here. So worksheet 5, here's one we made earlier. It's on history of Croke Park, the museum, using evidence, some questions, etc., etc. Big All Ireland final timeline. There we go. And please God, we'll be adding to that in a couple of weeks. All right. So there's working as history, using evidence, 1,000 cycle to the final. Right, look at it's a worksheet for kids. There's enough in there if and when you want to use it. All right. So back onto our main page and go into our KMRI section. All right. So this is another resource. Probably a wee bit older, or it's been around a wee bit longer. So there's stuff for junior, middle, and senior cycle. And there's a specific one for PE. So we're going to go into I think this is the senior cycle. So what you can see here is basically there is, I'll go in and I'll use maths into the next one. So you can see they're using teaching cards. They're using the GAA worksheets, fractions, how you can use the GAA or how you can incorporate maths and a wee bit in a GAA-minded environment. In fairness, that one doesn't look like it was extremely GAA, but maybe the history will, just for the purposes of proving my point. Okay, create a timeline for the GAA, examine the history of a local GAA club. So look at it, it is, again, it's using the GAA to help you focus on history. How little or much you want to use that, if at all, is completely up to you. But look, there's enough there. There's 13 different subjects. 12 if you exclude the PE, because we're going to go back into that. And then there's pupil worksheets there as well. All right. So back into our main KMRI before we went into our senior section is our PE one. So it's the PE KMRI. So we've got different lesson plans there. You've got 8 of them for the 3rd to 6th class, 1 each for football, handball, rounders, and camogie. Then there's additional resources there as well. So look, there's plenty in that. They're there to be looked at. I'm going to go back out into our main KMRI page. The primary planner is the activity planner by another name. It seems to be that there's a more narrow selection focus for national schools. Is there a huge difference between that and the activity planner? No, I would be going, like it says here, yeah, look, part of the activity planner. I wouldn't be moving away from the activity planner. There's no real argument for moving away from it. Okay, so I'm going to X out of that. We're nearly there, folks. From the last, I'd say 5 minutes anyway. If you go into your primary school resources, by the way, sorry, that was at the bottom of our primary school page, our main primary school page. So we've out of the KMRI, we're in now with the primary school resources. You've got you've got skill cards, okay? You've got hurling, camogie skills, you've got football skills. So you've got rounders, handball, there's stuff on the Go games, there's other resources. There's some light reading material at the bottom if and when it takes your fancy to read it. So look at, there really is an awful lot of stuff there. How much, how little you want to use or investigate, totally up to you. But that's part of our job here today, is just make you aware of that. Just before I go back into our presentation again, it's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so what part of another stream to our resource that we're showing you there today is our Cavan Coaching and Games YouTube channel. Dan sent you links there to it. So there's, for example, the last 3 links that we put up. We just made them live an hour ago. Over the river, there's the circle scoring game, and there's the road to Croker. They're not all narrated by me, but maybe give it a day or two before you want to listen to me again. Look, there are some stuff there for club coaches. Absolutely. There's the webinar from 2 weeks ago. There's a couple of other webinars, but there are some stuff that maybe you could throw out to the kids to do at break time or challenges. There's skill challenges there. There's wall ball drills. These are stuff that we would have sent out to them over the lockdown around April, March time. They're not hard set up. They're not very complicated. They can go and do them in their own time. I haven't watched the video once or twice. Whether you want to do that or whether it's applicable, again, up to you. So there's loads of stuff there. Look at it at your leisure. Maybe subscribe to it. You might get a notification if there's other stuff coming up that you could use or not use at your whenever you want. Okay, almost there. Last time I'm going back into this. I'm going to get Dan to put the link to our OneDrive in now. So that's our OneDrive resource. So that's what we're after going through. So there's the 8 weekly lesson plans. So they're the ones that I showed you that were coming from the tail end of June. There's skills there on handball, rounders, hurling, camogie, the KMRI. So both the normal one and with just the normal subjects, curriculum subjects, and then there's a separate PE one. You've got the Cavan Coaching and Games OneDrive. Dan's after popping the link in there, and then the Cavan Coaching and Games YouTube link. All right, which I will just throw in now this very second as well. Okay, so subscribe to that as well. KMRI, there's 12 different subjects, pupil worksheets, lesson plans from junior to 6th class. Primary planner, like I said, it's the same idea as the activity planner, and it's all accessed through that learning.ga website. Okay, so there's a world of stuff there. Thank you very much. Any questions? Don't be afraid to unmute yourself and ask. I'm not sure the link is working. John, that was the coach. That was for the one for Peter Donnelly. That would have been an Ulster one. I'm not quite sure. I'll look into that, see if there's a recording made of it, and we'll get in touch with you and see if we can sort that out. If that's all right. I'm going to pop my email in here as well, just in case if there's any issue with any of that, or links not working, we'll get that sorted for you as well. So that's my email address. Ask any of your coaches that are coming in or due to come in. There's an email address, my one. see what if there's any questions, see if we can help you out. If there's no more questions, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, and hope you got a wee bit out of it. All right. Thanks very much, folks. Slán.